Cabinet Committee on Security meeting is scheduled for 11 o'clock, which is now, marking the first such meeting after Operation Sindoor. The meeting is to be held at Prime Minister's residence following the daily interaction with the defence officials and could lead to significant decisions being taken. Prime Minister Modi has stated that Operation Sindoor represents India's new normal and the policy in response to terrorist threat. A crucial Cabinet Committee on Security meeting will take place and has in fact started as per the visuals. Those are file visuals, of course, but a meeting is likely to take place now in just a couple of minutes, starting at and scheduled at 11 o'clock. This will be the first such meeting after Operation Sindoor. The meeting will be held in Prime Minister's residence. It follows daily interactions with defence officials and could lead to significant decisions. Prime Minister Modi has stated, remember earlier, that Operation Sindoor represent India's new normal. And this will, of course, be a doctrine that India will follow going forward. In fact, Prime Minister just yesterday reiterated that there are three principles that India will abide by now. Number one, if there is a terrorist attack on India, we will respond in our way, on our own terms, at our own time. Number two, India will not tolerate any nuclear blackmail, referring to Pakistan's nuclear posturing. And number three, India will not see the government that patronizes terror and the masters of terror separately. So the government that gives way to terror and patronizes terror will be treated as the same as masters of terror. The Prime Minister making it clear that the world is moving forward by understanding this is a new form of India, this is the new system, and this is the way forward as far as India's foreign policy towards terrorism is concerned. All right, that's a very crucial CCS meeting today that is going to be chaired by the Prime Minister at his residence. This will be the first CCS and Cabinet meeting after Operation Sindoor. Remember, India and Pakistan earlier on 10th of May reached an understanding for cessation of hostilities after 4 nights of military conflict following Operation Sindoor. India said it will not move away from any decision taken after the deadly Pahalgam attack. This should be treated as a halt in operations and only as such. Now, as far as today's Cabinet Committee meeting is concerned, it's likely to be attended by Home Minister Amit Shah, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and other Union Cabinet Ministers including Shivraj Singh Chauhan and among other key Cabinet members. This is the first meeting and will likely discuss on India's defence preparedness, its foreign policy and its policy with regards to terrorism. My colleague Brijesh Pandey joining us live with more details. Brijesh, that crucial Cabinet Committee on Security's meeting is going to be starting very shortly from now. This is the first ever since Operation Sindoor.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it seems a lot of significance, Shweta, because in this particular Cabinet Committee on Security, the Prime Minister is going to brief his Cabinet colleagues about, how the entire Operation Sindoor panned out, the kind of world reaction it generated, how India gave a befitting reply to the nefarious designs of Pakistan, how it dealt a crippling blow as far as the terror infrastructure as well as Pakistan's air defense system is concerned. So all of it will be briefed. The Prime Minister will be briefing them, and also he would be talking about, most likely he'll be talking about, how this Operation Sindoor is likely to go on. There's this, talk about the new Modi doctrine as far as the government's policy on terror is concerned. That is also likely to be talked about. And, contrary to the imagery which, the United States of America was providing, that, it was they who negotiated a ceasefire, India has been pushing back this narrative, saying that it was Pakistan who was forced to compromise and call the Indian DGMO, after the devastating air attack which was taken place place, which was done by Indian Air Force. So all of these, development which has taken place is something which is going to be briefed to all the persons, all the cabinet ministers who are part of the CCS will be done, and after that, the cabinet, the usual cabinet will take place. Shweta?
Union Cabinet meeting following that CCS meeting. It's important you brought out some points, Brijesh, quickly for the benefit of our viewers. What's transpired in the last 24 to 48 hours? We've seen a Donald Trump who's very focused in his attempt to ensure that US is taken as the broker of that peace and broker of cessation of hostilities between the two countries, mentioning trade again and again. I think Prime Minister made it amply clear, as well as the spokesperson for Defence Ministry yesterday, that there was no mention of trade. It was in fact Pakistan that started conversation, and the DGMO that started conversation around ceasefire, and which is why a cessation of hostilities has now taken place.
Well, Shweta, what happened was that when the tweet of United States President Donald Trump and also Secretary of State Mark Rubio came, it took most of us by surprise, and there was an expression of disbelief as far as this ceasefire was concerned. And the meeting, the press briefing of Vikram Misri, Foreign Secretary, was postponed twice. But when it took place, India by that time, had the response ready, and they clearly stated that that America did not play any role as far as negotiating this ceasefire is concerned. They went on to say that it was the Pakistan DGMO who approached India first after a debilitating strike carried out by Indian Air Force, virtually destroying 11 Pak air bases. And then they went on to explain that it was after the insistence of Pakistan DGMO, Indian DGMO came on hotline, and there was a conversation between the two, and then cessation of hostility was announced. America then again said that it was a trade threat which led to this, and this was not only debunked by the Ministry of Defence spokesperson, as just mentioned, it was also debunked by both External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and also by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister did not took America's name, but he made it amply clear who he was referring to. And if you take last 48 hours into consideration, I think India is working overtime to wrest back the initiative, wrest back the narrative which is going around. And we saw a Prime Minister address to the nation in which he talked about how this entire of what is what the Pakistan and America is calling ceasefire was nothing but a mere cessation of hostility, and India still reserves the right to strike back Pakistan if it continues in terror attack. They also went on to he also went on to talk about how that Operation Sindoor is still far from over, and India is keenly watching how the situation unfolds. Next morning, yesterday morning, we saw Prime Minister visiting a forward base, Adampur Air Base, thereby sending a big signal not only to the world but also debunking the lie of Pakistan when it had claimed earlier that that it had destroyed Adampur Air Base. So the government of India is now working overtime to make sure that the narrative
the photograph with S-400 for that matter is also very important, so as to ascertain that this is our AD, and our AD systems are intact as a matter of fact. And before I let you go, I think the second round of DGMO level meetings have also been held between India and Pakistan, Brijesh, and to that point I think there's been some sort of conversation that there should be movement of troops backwards from the forward lines. The two DGMOs, they're clarifying, but I think the cessation of hostilities will really rest on how sincere Pakistan is in its effort to actually hold ceasefire.
Well, I think, India is negotiating from a position of strength, and that is good news as far as we are concerned. The fact is that, the second round of DGMO conversation is to be based on one thing, which is making sure that the deployment of troop is as, per the original before this skirmish started between India and Pakistan. And they want to go back to pre-skirmish, days. And that is one key area in which India and Pakistan are talking about. But one thing is very clear, Shweta, that government has made it abundantly clear. And, they have also allowed, the generals had to speak about, the tri-service DGMOs. They have made it amply clear in 2 days of briefing about, where do they stand. The army chief has already, clearly stated that he has asked the commanders, the army commanders stationed at the line of LOC to retort Pakistan as the famous line of Prime Minister saying that goli ka jawab gole se denge. So it's very clear that India is adopting a very hawkish approach as far as countering this terror activity which is being carried by Pakistan.